Hey everyone, welcome back to our series 10 Steps to Buying a Great Home in Central Maryland. This week, we're going to cover step number 4 of the home buying process, and that is going to be writing an offer to purchase the home. In case you missed the past 3 steps, please feel free to take a look at the previous videos on the channel that explain those 3 steps that lead up to writing this offer. And if you like those videos, do us a favor. Please take a moment to give us a thumbs up or maybe even subscribe to the channel. That way, when a new video comes out, you guys are aware of it. So we're at step number 4, and that means we've gone out, we've seen the homes, and that means we found a house that you love. So that means now comes the part where we have to compose an offer to purchase the home. Some people will refer to this as putting in a bid on a home, but there's more to it than just raising our hand and saying we want to buy this particular home. When we're composing an offer, there are several things that we need to decide on. They're all critical parts that can set your offer apart from others that may be interested in this very same home. These include things like the price that you want to offer, financing, contingencies, closing date, and other considerations, as well as a review of the seller's disclosures. Now, we're going to go through all of these different parts in this video, so hang on with us for a minute. As your agent, when we're going to compose an offer, we want to know what you, the buyer, are willing to offer to purchase the home. Now, as your agent, it's our job to look at the comparable listings, or what we refer to as the comps, to determine if the listing price is reasonable for the home or not. From there, we can guide you on making the best offer possible for that home. As a buyer, we should always strive to put forth our best offer the first go around. We definitely don't want to rely on the seller negotiating back with us. So getting our best offer the first go around should always be the best thing, what we want to do. This could be the thing that makes your offer stand out from the rest. One thing to keep in mind, though, as we do this is, by and large, listing agents have done their homework, and listing agents know what the comps are for a property. They have an idea where the home should be priced. So yes, occasionally we get homes that are slightly overpriced, but most of the time they are not. They are priced well and in the market. And why do I tell you this? It's because sometimes people have a tendency to want to write lowball offers. And especially with the market that we have right now, where we have not a whole lot of inventory, and it can be a seller's market, these lowball offers are not good, because what happens is the seller is just going to ignore our offer, and they're going to take one of the higher offers that comes down the pike, and they're not even going to want to negotiate back with us. So, this is one of those places where we say, trust your agent. This is what we do. We follow the market on a week-to-week basis, and we know both sides of the coin here. So we know what happens on the seller's side. We know what happens on the buyer's side. Another thing that we do as your agent is we help to discover what the seller is looking for in a winning offer. In other words, we want to know, what to them looks like a win in the sale of the home. Is it selling it for the most amount of money? Is it they want to close quickly? Maybe they're looking to just sell it as is and not have to do any repairs. Either way, if we find out something, we're going to let you know, because these things can alter our offer strategy. Now, once we've decided on the price that you'd like to offer for the home, we now have to decide on contingencies. I'm going to talk about them in just a second, and what exactly a contingency is. But the big ones that we normally use are home inspections, financing, and then HOA or condo disclosures. So what is a contingency? That's a great question. Hang in with me for 1 second, and I'm going to explain. You see, as part of our offer, you're going to have to put down something called an earnest money deposit. And that earnest money is essentially, as a buyer, it's your skin in the game for this contract. Okay? If you were to back out of this contract, there's a possibility that you could lose this money. So what a contingency is it is a way that allows a buyer to back out of their contract if they find something that is unsatisfactory to them. For example, a home inspection contingency allows a prospective buyer to get a home inspected by a licensed home inspector, and we're going to cover that next week. But should that inspector find something that's overly distressing to a buyer, the buyer can terminate their contract and receive their earnest money deposit back. Financing is the same thing. If for some reason you can't get financing on a property, you can terminate your contract and get your deposit back. Now, one thing that I want to note that's super important here, guys. If you as the buyer just get cold feet and decide to back out of a contract without a contingency, there is a possibility that you could lose your earnest money to the seller. Why? Well, because your offer is a legally binding contract. If you back out of a legally binding contract without a reason, you're now in breach of that contract. Now, I'm not an attorney, so I'm going to tell you, if you have any questions about this, attorneys, lawyers, they are the ones to contact about this. Now, let's talk about the financing piece of your offer. That's something that we should already have a pretty good idea about since we followed the process. And in step number 2, we talked about getting pre-approval. So that means you've talked to a lender. We have an idea what loan program you're going to use, so we know, how to structure our offer. As your agent, we're going to work with that lender to refine the pre-approval for you and for that home. And we're going to get any particular numbers that we need to get from the lender in order to compose our offer. The other thing that the lender is going to tell us is they're going to let us know how quick we can get your file to the closing table. Is your file one that can close in 30 days, 21 days, or potentially do we need to look at maybe a little longer timeline, maybe 40, maybe 45 days? Okay, we're going to want to know all this prior to composing our offer. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to review the seller disclosures that are provided. Now, normally these are uploaded to the MLS for agents to see, and then we can then download them, and then we can send them over to you. What we do is we normally look them over first and see if we see anything in there that is concerning that you should be aware of, and then we will send them to you for you guys to look at as well. Now, when we talk about disclosure, a seller is required to disclose several things to a prospective buyer, or they're required to let a prospective buyer know about several things. These would be anything that if a buyer knew about it, it might affect their want to write an offer on the property. Okay, these could be things that maybe encumber a property that you might not readily know. Things like easements for utilities, other agreements, or various other things. The term that we use when we talk about these things is we refer to them as material facts about a property. A seller also has to disclose any latent defects in a property. So what does that mean? Those are defects that cannot be seen by the eye or reasonably found with an inspection. Obviously, things that you can readily see, a seller does not have to physically disclose those things. There are a few situations where a seller is exempt from disclosure. Mainly those are situations where a seller would have no knowledge of the property. Typically things like somebody as an executor of an estate, a tax sale, bank-owned properties, things like that. As you go through the process, your agent will advise you about those types of properties. Now, once we have everything all filled out, we're going to send you the offer for you to review and then initial and sign where required. As your agent, we most certainly can review the offer with you. If you would like, we can go through it page by page, paragraph by paragraph, and we can explain it to you so that you can understand what you're truly offering. The one thing we cannot do is we cannot interpret the contract of sale. And why is that? Well, like we said before, we're just real estate agents. We're not attorneys and we're not lawyers. So if you do have a question about interpretation, as your agent, we can certainly refer you to an attorney who can help you get the answers that you're looking for. Now, one last note. In Maryland, the contract of sale and the documents that we use have all been written by attorneys, and they have all been approved through the Maryland Association of Realtors legal department, as well as the Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors, for use. Now, once we have everything composed to your satisfaction, We're going to send it to you for you to sign an initial. And then once you have signed an initial of all those things, it'll come back to us. And then as your agent, we're then going to compile all of those documents into one document, put a nice pretty bow on it, and we're going to send it over to the listing agent. The listing agent is then going to present our offer to the seller, and our goal is that the seller chooses our offer to be the one that they want to work with. We're going to try to get information from them about when they're going to be presenting offers and when we should expect to receive an answer about our offer. But please keep in mind, things do change. Okay, situations change, and even, especially if a seller has multiple offers, they may want to think on them overnight before they pick one. So, that step is kind of out of our control to some degree. Also, please keep in mind, nothing is official until it's signed by both parties and sent back to us. Now, once we get it back to us, that's when our timeline starts to get our contingencies removed and to get on the road to closing. Now, we're going to talk about all of that more next week, so make sure you tune in next week to step number 5 to buying a great home in Central Maryland. Until then, I'm Jeremy, and thank you for tuning into our channel. If you guys are ready to begin your home buying journey, we would love the chance to chat with you. Thanks, folks. We'll see you next time.